Peace, love, and balance, everybody. Peace, love, and balance, y'all. It's your girl, Isha, the goddess of wisdom, also known as Goddess on the Rise, the Copper Queen, the Flower Hoodie Queen, bringing this sacred energy exchange to y'all. All right, y'all. So it's Sunday. Give me one second. I'm going to scoot this over to me real quick. So it's Sunday. It's Domingo Day, y'all. I hope y'all having a great day. If y'all at church, hope y'all having a great service. If y'all at a church right now, I hope y'all can catch this live real quick because this is actually some very valuable information I'm going to give for what we call Black History Month. But we already know it's Indigenous People History Month, Moorish History Month, you know. But that term is what we've been calling it for the 100-year anniversary, first of all. The 100-year anniversary of it, all right? And I want to say this before I get started. So, I, myself, and a lot of other brothers and sisters like myself have been posting about the Haitian Revolutionary War and how it has a huge impact in Black history, specifically in America. And some people don't like it because they feel like, oh, they have Caribbean History Month and their time to celebrate is in June. Our time to celebrate is in February. Now, listen, anybody talking that way is spreading hate because let's remember the Haitian Revolutionary War was won because people from different parts of Africa and Jamaica, Barbados, different islands came together and fought. All of them were not specifically from that island, okay? That the French colonized, okay? So they celebrated together, okay? And then a lot of them ended up being shipped over a very large period of time here with us, the American Indians and Native Americans here in between South America and North America. All right. So we can't really even discuss that part of history in general and leave them out. Okay. They are in our history. We may not necessarily be in their history, but they're in our history. That's the difference because of the transatlantic slave trade, different ethnicities of black and brown people. So that going on is getting kind of out of hand. I know it's something about the FBAs, and I do know it's about because, yes, majority of the people on the island, I mean, on Turtle Island, exactly, it was Turtle Island before it was called America, or and it was America. But on Turtle Island were the people that built this country. We outnumbered the enslaved people coming over here, and we ended up breeding with them. And see, what I'm talking about right now is why more people need to learn hoodoo, Southern hoodoo, Louisiana hoodoo, as well as Louisiana voodoo. And you even need to learn about Haitian voodoo and where voodoo originated from in general. Before, it didn't originate in Haiti. People that came from different other areas in West Africa brought it to that island, and we shared it. We shared this information to help us collectively as melanated people. Thank you so much. So that is what I'm going to be talking about today. All right. And I titled this live, it's called The Salem Witch Trials versus Black Witches, because Black witches played a huge part in the Salem Witch Trials, specifically Tituba, which her ethnicity has never been her ethnicity has never been revealed fully. They said she could have came from Barbados. They said she could have came from Africa, and some of them say she was even an American indigenous woman. All we know is she is the reason why the Salem witch trials kicked off specifically in Salem, Massachusetts, which it was and still is a U.S. territory. Okay, and that's why I got this shirt on. I teach for the Black Witch of Salem. So that is what we're gonna talk about. That before I get started, I am gonna share some books. I am gonna share some books. Y'all know how I do. These two books, one of these books has a foreword by Angela Davis. See, Angela Davis did a foreword in the book about Tituba. So this book right here is a good book if you want to learn about Tituba. And this book right here, actually, this book was written, and some of it is, but it was written in French or something like that. So that's another thing. But they translated it to English. This book right here. So it actually has another version in a different language as well. Okay, so if you see this book, this is how it looks, so you can know Tituba, Black Witch of Salem, translated by Richard Philcock. So yeah, it was in another language at first, and they put it in English. Okay, these two books right here. This is two books on that last live I did. I didn't get to share, but I can share now. So we have They Came Before Columbus, The African Present in Ancient America. So the indigenous, the melanated people that was here already before all the colonization. And then we have the Book of Negroes. The book, they actually had a show about this, and they have a book on it. Okay. Also, I don't have it in front of me, but Roots. Roots will be a good book. They get a movie on Roots too. Roots, and read the book. And then these two books right here. So we have American Indian Medicine. I got this book at a bookstore when I was going hiking. They had a bookstore. You know how they had those shops, to sell merchandise before you go hiking, and they had this, and it was the only copy, and I took it, y'all. So American Indian Medicine. This book, the author is called Virgil Vogel. Y'all can see that. Okay, and then we have Native American Herbalist Bible right here. And actually, this woman that wrote this book, Ayanna Unlessa, she's actually a Native American from Tennessee. When I found out about it, I was like, wow. But yeah, she's native to Tennessee. She's Native American, and she lived in a part of Tennessee. I will see if it's in here. Here it is. You got where Ayanna Unlessa is based in Tennessee. She is widely recognized in the field of naturopathy, holistic, and herbal medicine, and for her life-changing books. Okay, so yeah, she's based out of Tennessee. This book right here. So, like I was saying, I'm gonna be going over a lot of things today about how much stuff really puts us together. Okay, whether we like it or not. It's like, why would we can't change this? We can't change it. So, first things first. First thing first, I want to read this to y'all. This is not how she really looked, but this is just a description that they give based off some things that they know over the years. They just make, how they do. But Tituba, her dates are unknown, so she never had a birthday in the system. They did. That's another thing. That's what I'm saying. When you was getting trafficked, okay, they didn't keep up with a birthday date. The birthday was the day that they got you, pretty much, and brought you over here. So they have 1692, and remember that year, 1692. That is well when the French was in rule in Haiti and so many other areas, and the transatlantic slave trade was going in full time mode. Okay, because remember the Haitian Revolutionary War didn't kick off till 1791. That's over almost like 1,000 years later. You see what I'm saying? Or however many years later, 100 years later, it was a time frame that went by before the Haitian Revolutionary War even kicked off, and slaves were being brought into U.S. territories. That's what people don't. That's what we got to stop being brand new about. You see what I'm saying? That's a long period of time, well before the Haitian Revolutionary War. So we got Tituba was one of the first accused during the Salem witch trials in 1692, accused of teaching girls fortune telling and voodoo-like rituals, said to use Caribbean and folk magic traditions. Okay. So that is why we have to talk about Caribbean Black history as well as African Black history in American Black history, because it's linked together. So all the hate on that, I'm sick of it. We got to stop with this daggum division. Why we want to separate anyway when we've seen the benefits of us being together? What is the problem? What is the problem? So if you heard, and y'all know I am a fortune teller, and I practice Louisiana voodoo, and which has Caribbean magic in it. It has indigenous magic in it. It has French, and it has, I feel like I said Caribbean and indigenous practices. So it's a combination. So that tells you right there. Remember, I told you her ethnicity was not known because they was trying to figure out where did she learn that from, and they know where it came from. So this lets you know right there. See, back then they had their way of getting things to their people, knowledge and stories and information, and we did too. We would spread our knowledge, plantation to plantation, island to island, country to country, and everybody collectively started doing things. So voodoo began to be some type of worldwide practice amongst us. We linked it together. That's what unified us, honestly, if you think about it. So I've read this stuff before, but I'm gonna do an updated. This is an updated live, especially with what's going on. So here it is right here. It says Black witches debunk the biggest myth about the occult. Thank y'all so much for the likes. This is an article you can find. If you type that in, that'll come up. You'll see this picture of her with this snake. So it has right here. European misconceptions of blackness and witchcraft are still influenced to today's views on witches and traditional non-Christian religions. Okay. All right. So yes, that is very true. It has right here. An old common misconception of witches is that they're all white, which is not true. Another is that they're associated with the devil, not true. And it has African and Black American culture has long included non-traditional spirituality that's been misunderstood by white communities as well as our own. Yes, let's ring the bell on that. And I'm gonna keep talking about this. So it's not just white people that have a problem with black witches. It's black people that got a problem with black witches too. Matter of fact, I left a group for this same reason. I could tell the person didn't like that I identified as a black witch. It was a hoodoo group, and they don't identify with the term just like there are people that don't like that I consider myself a Moor, and they like, well, you indigenous, you a mirror, and I just they don't the terms have changed just like our titles, like that book, the Book of Negroes. We wasn't Negroes. We was indigenous, but they went from indigenous to Indians to colored to black to African American and all these different titles to the N word. So y'all making a big fuss over verbs and nouns and plurals is insane. And I ain't even gonna go into what I could have talked about. It's insane, y'all. And it's not getting us anywhere. It's just causing division. Does it really freaking matter? People have a right to be identified as what they want to identify as. You see what I'm saying? What's the fight about? All right. So we got right here. The devil's a Christian thing. It got, you guys, Christians came up with that. That doesn't actually play into witchcraft as we know it. Says Maya Spalter, a black witch and the author of Enchantment. So she has a book called Enchantment, a modern witch's guide to self-possession. Okay, that if you want to get the book, I have never read it, but I looked it up and looked at the book, and I thought I had it in my wish list, but I just never purchased it. I probably need to, but it got a modern witch's guide to self-possession to self-possession. So to essence, it's just a totally different thing. Practicing witchcraft is often portrayed as the opposite of Christianity, which is just untrue. Also, she knows. Yes, because if you don't think in the Catholic churches they practicing witchcraft, you're lying. You're lying. Matter of fact, the Lord's Supper is a ritual. Singing psalms, which is what they do in voodoo. They sing together, they dance together, and they play drums together, which is why certain churches, that is actually the reason why certain churches chose to take music out of their churches. Not all churches do this, because like Baptist churches have instruments and stuff like that, but certain churches don't allow the instruments in there because it's associated with Lucifer, Lucifer was he was the prince of music, right? He was actually well known to be a marvelous singer, which is why he was able to get so many people to follow him. He was in charge of all this. That's the story. So they associate music with the devil. And if you've seen Sinners, that's why his son was like, leave those devilish ways alone. And remember, in that church, they didn't have instruments. And he didn't like his son leaving and going to them clubs and singing music and playing instruments. Now, I will say this. Music is a very powerful tool. That's why it has been demonized, because music can be used to heal people or to curse people. That's why people don't like, they're scared of it. It's influencing too. Just think about the music that had been pushed onto melanated people here in America specifically that was degrading to us. And guess what? We started acting like that, calling each other bees and hoes, pimping each other, disrespecting each other, hating each other, because the songs taught us that. So that is the power of the word mixed with a psalms. That's the power of music. It can be demonic if the words are demonic, okay? But we have the power to change that too. So yes, that's what I'm saying. So either way, you're still practicing witchcraft, because if you're singing in church, you're singing and you're worshiping a god, a deity. It's the same thing. You just got your preference of your God that you choose to serve, which I told y'all in that last live I just did about the Haitian Revolutionary War, the American Massacre, and the Louisiana Revolt, on how Christopher Columbus is really the God that you're serving, because that's the God that they serve, because he's the God that came and laid crosses down in America and other areas, saying he was spreading the word of Jesus Christ, and his name is Christopher. Okay? So, we got right here. Popular lore surrounding the Taurus Salem witch trials brings to mind images of white women and girls being harmed for their perceived witchcraft, which is true. So yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, white women, and that's another thing. White people, if you've seen American Horror Story, you see the episode where they were white witch hunters killing white women. They did not care if you were black or white, and that's why in the episode Coven, they had a truce in the beginning. Racism was so bad, it was blinding them with the idea of color, and it didn't even matter because they will kill you too if you're a witch. They don't care that you white. Husbands was getting their mamas, their daughters, their nieces, their granddaughters burnt and hung. And March 1st is Women's History Month, aka is actually the reason why they made March Women's History Month is because of stuff like Salem witch trials and the fall of the matriarchy due to the patriarchy. Okay, and they know that was wrong. They know the whole how they was able to do it was burning women. Because all the women they burnt were not just women that practiced witchcraft. Some of the women they burnt for merely owning things. So say back then I was a witch and my father passed. And he left me all of his farmland, all of his fortunes, right? And I chose not to get married. You were considered a witch. They didn't like women in positions of power. You weren't allowed to own anything. You weren't allowed to work. So you weren't even allowed to inherit something. So you technically was supposed to get married. So a man could be over you. That was patriarchy rulership and still is. You had to get married to a man, especially if you own stuff, and have children with him so it can make sense why you got all this. But you weren't supposed to be having land, houses, property, real estate, bank accounts, and all that without no man. And that includes white women, as we were just talking about. So it got right here. It has right here, however, over the 100 people persecuted, killed, or both during the trials, which lasted from the spring of 1692 until May 1693, majority of them were black. Yes. Slavery and the transatlantic slave trade was so bad, majority of the women that got killed and targeted were black. Or black melanated women that look like me and darker. You know what I'm saying? They say Tituba was dark. She was very dark. They said this has directly impacted how black witches have been perceived in America and has contributed to the misunderstanding that about non-white spiritual practices. Okay, and that is, like I said, that is across the board. Black and white people have had issues and highly dislike black witches, indigenous witches. Okay. So it got right here. It got traditionally and before the Salem witch trials, black witches served as healers, midwives, cooks, and more. Let's ring the bell, okay? And if you do not know, Erykah Badu I believe she's a midwife or a doula, one or the other. And she identifies as a witch. So a woman being able to help bring life on the planet, which is insane, right? So men know that you are born of a woman. And without our bodies, your sperm is not enough to bring a child into the world. The rest of the process has to be done by us via 9 months in our womb, connected to our body, sharing our blood, our brain, our belly, our bladder, our stomach. The rest has to be done by us. And women go through so much, including death, to bring life into the world. Your life could be lost to bring life. That is the risk we take that y'all never have to take. And yet, we're witches, we're demonic. So wouldn't they make you demonic because you came from us? That would make all men demonic, which they've shown us with the patriarchy and so many other things, that y'all must be demonic too. So that means they hate themselves. They hate their mothers. They hate the very womb that they came from. And they don't get hating women means you hate you because you came from a woman. So look, y'all. It has right here. If anything bad happened to these enslavers, they would blame the black or indigenous witches and send her to be judged, but often just killed. Yes. So anytime something suspicious took place, it didn't matter. Something come up missing, something just seemed off. Something's too off in this room. It's her. She's doing that witchcraft. You could just be existing and get killed. So if y'all ever heard of the term black girl magic, black girl magic is not a made up term. There's something magical about melanated women. People have told me, and I'm not even, bragging, I'm being honest, have told me when they get around me, they feel a majestic energy just sitting next to me. Yes, Michael Jackson had it. A lot of people used to have that. A lot of people still do and don't know it. So it's an energy about us just being in our presence, which is why we have been used for freak shows like Sarah Barnum and sex trafficking and sex shows and all the lustful stuff, fetishes. The black woman has always been pushed into those roles because of that energy that we house, that the universe gave us naturally. And we have always been in danger because of that. That rape happened because of that. Men couldn't control themselves around us, and they wanted whatever that was that we had. It was so undeniable, and if we didn't want to give it to them willingly, they would just take it. That's what I'm saying. So they even hated us because they had a love-hate relationship with us. They hated us so much because they couldn't deny us and they couldn't control themselves around us. So that became our fault, and we're demonic. It's crazy. So Alexis says white women not protecting these women from being killed for being an evil witch hunt. I got right here. They got white women not protecting these women from being killed for being an evil witch hunt found themselves next in line when the white man expanded their misogynist crusade. So yes, once white women realized that he was lynched and burned your A too, they started joining in with us. That's honestly how the women's rights movements eventually became too. White women started getting discriminated against on jobs, just like we did. They kept thinking they was above us, and then on top of that, the same husband that burnt a black slave or killed them or whatever the case may be was raping them too and had kids with us. So you getting cheated on by your white husband with a slave and a bastard baby, and then he gonna kill your A2. You see what I'm saying? And then enslave the baby. Because it's mixed blood now. It's a bastard. That's what they used to call it. It's a bastard. So that's what I said. They started waking up like, wait a minute. I'm your woman. I thought they were the slaves. I thought they were the slaves. Now you're going to enslave me and kill us too? Yes, they do. So it has many believe they would be safe because of their skin color, but that didn't go well. It didn't go well. So there's a lot of people. I actually got an event coming up. It's called the Witch Walk in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So if you live in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I will be there. The flyers on my social media page. I tell you, I don't share flyers on here for my personal reasons. If you want to know where I'm going to be at, you have to go to my social media page. And I have a couple more events coming up. So I work with and surround myself with melanated witches, indigenous witches, and also what they call white witches and Caucasian witches, because we get it now. A lot of them been get. That's another thing. You got to think pagans are not Christians. Pagans got their villages burned down by Christians. They would just come and just burn their villages down, just like they would burn an indigenous village down. So that's why I tell y'all, we can't talk about black history without talking about Caribbean history, without talking about pagan history, because the same hate they had for us just because of the color of our skin and our spiritual practices, they hated their own people. And I'm not changed. That's another thing. People keep talking about, stop making it about them and talk about us. Baby, Tituba watched white women get burnt. So it says she never got killed. She actually got her freedom in the end. That's how divinely protected she was. Her ancestors were protecting her. For some reason, Tituba got protected because she watched women and men get killed and burned by their own people. And she thought she was next so many times. She got tortured bad. That's another thing. They needed her because she was the center of it all. So they figured If they killed her, it would get worse. Because remember, plague started going around during that time too, yellow fever. And she was curing people. So during that time, as they had her enslaved, they were still using her to cure people. They didn't know how to do that. So they needed her. So they kept her alive because they needed her, but they was also trying to teach women a lesson that we not about to start this mess. Y'all not about to start this, and this is the consequence if y'all start doing that witchcraft stuff. So yes, Tituba is the reason why Salem women learn more things, because some of them were already pagans and doing their own things. You know what I'm saying? But she taught them voodoo with fortune telling and Caribbean magic. They didn't know nothing about that. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't know nothing about that stuff. They didn't. That was Tituba that brought that to melanated, to Caucasian women, and that is why to this day, a lot of Caucasian people love voodoo and hoodoo, and the way that we do in Caribbean magic, but specifically voodoo, especially New Orleans voodoo. That is why because even their ancestors that were built against their own patriarchal systems that their leaders built against them too, they remember. They remember. They remember. That's what I'm not justifying that they should be practicing it. No. That's just what happened during that period. And that's the thing. You gotta think she was enslaved. Slaves didn't have choice. So you gotta think, if this white woman come to you and be like, teach me that voodoo stuff, I know you know how to do it, Tituba. I know you know how to do it. Could she really say no? Because if she said no, they could lie on her anyway and say she's been doing it. And that's what happened. They lied on her, acting like they wasn't doing it with her, and they put her out there like, it's her. She was doing that witchcraft. She taught us this. They betrayed us. So we taught them, don't that sound like the indigenous story with American Indians? We taught them how to bathe, cook, learn the land, learn our languages, and they turn around, Christopher Columbus, boom. So that's what I'm saying. So you can't, so that's why I tell people, no, I'm not justifying that means white people should be able to practice voodoo and hoodoo. No, they can't. She had to do it. She was enslaved. She, honestly, it was damned if she did and damned if she didn't, because she could have got killed. If she didn't teach it, she could have got killed, and she could still got killed for teaching it. Okay? So they were left out of the history books because servants and slaves only get to be in history books when pivotal to the victor. So yes, they purposely didn't really talk about black women and black witches in the Salem witch trials because they were enslaved during that time frame, and they didn't, and to them we were irrelevant, even though we were the center of the whole thing taking place. So they literally purposely left us out and made it seem like it was only a white thing. That's the truth. That is literally the truth, and we know that's not true. So we got right here, they got black women often had been convicted for crimes like arson or murder and face much harsher punishments than their white counterparts accused of the same crimes. So yes, that's nothing new. We know that now in the jail systems here in the U.S. that black people in general, men and women, constantly get harsher time frames for the same. Thank you so much. I'm doing great. We always get the most harshest, harshest punishments for crimes, even if they're similar to, and sometimes they're not even, they're minor compared to what some of our white counterparts do, and they get like, no, just like the young lady recently they got shot in her house by that officer. He only got 20 years. You see what I'm saying? If that would have been a black officer, he would have been in jail for life, if not the death penalty, and we know it. But because he's Caucasian, and he supposed it was an accident, he did his job, or whatever the case, but they only gave that man 20 years for murder. For murder of an innocent woman in her home. She called for help and got murdered. And that's why they be telling us as melanated people, we don't need to involve law enforcement in anything, because we could end up being killed. And that has always been the case. So it has right here, nearly 87% of the women executed from 1608 to 2002 were black, according to the Epstein files on U.S. executions. Yes. Black witches stay getting charged. That's what I say. You didn't have to be a witch. Look at that incident, that woman I'm telling you about. They said he thought she was about to throw hot water on him, so he shot her. She's in the kitchen. They scared of anything that we do. I bet you they probably thought she was a witch too. You know what I'm saying? They may have never said it, But that's what I'm saying. She got, and that's 1608 to 2002. Black women are constantly executed in different ways. And we ain't talking about just electric chairs or all that stuff. We always get executed. So we got one of the earliest stories of the trials non-white witches in America face is that of Tituba, an enslaved indigenous woman commonly referred to as the Black Witch of Salem. Early drawings depict her as a dark, terrifying creature. She would later be accused of making a group of young girls, including her slave owner Samuel Pear's daughter Betty and his niece Abigail, bark like dogs and contort to their bodies. Oh my God. So yes, that was what she was accused of. She was accused of casting a spell on her slave master's daughter and niece and had them barking like dogs and stuff. I'm gonna tell you what I think happened based off what I know about being a practitioner of voodoo, New Orleans voodoo and Louisiana hoodoo. When she was teaching them something that they weren't supposed to be getting taught by force, they got possessed. The ancestors did that to them. Teachable didn't have to do anything. She didn't have no control. They weren't supposed to be doing it. That was punishment on them. They got possessed because they're not supposed to be practicing hoodoo and voodoo and Caribbean magic because they're not of that ethnicity. That's what I think happened. So when they get possessed, they became scared of it, which is what always happens, and they demonize it. If you just stop meddling, it wouldn't be happening. Because you don't really hear too many stories of melanated people that practice hoodoo and voodoo going through this. The only time you do is when we do stuff we ain't supposed to be doing. Like Diddy. Diddy has a voodoo tattoo of a Zili dancer on his back. And she's a goddess. She's the lower of love, but protection and war. And look what he's doing. So yeah, we get punished too when we don't abide by the rules of these practices and we abuse the power. But it's totally a different situation when people that do not fit that ethnicity try to practice this stuff. So that's what happened to them girls. They was barking like dogs because that was a mild punishment. Okay, that was a mild punishment, but it freaked them out. You see what I'm saying? And caused a whole Salem witch trial because they didn't want to all get possessed by this one woman. And all the other black witches surrounding too, because they used to get together in the woods and stuff and do stuff together. So it got right here back. Bay also notes that black witches, particularly those who study traditional African practices like hoodoo and voodoo, experience rampant anti-blackness even inside their respective communities. That is so true, y'all. I'd be so sick of people like, it's no point of bringing it up, but there's definitely communities that have issues with people that practice hoodoo and voodoo. That's in black communities. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like they see their only way is the right way, whether they be Christians, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? They see their way is the right way and our ways is demonic. And it's crazy. It's so crazy. You get right here. I think it's really interesting when you see people who practice, particularly black people who practice conjure or a craft. It's always demonic and evil, but that's not a new concept, she says. So look, so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, every time we practice something, it's always, as a black people, it's always demonic, okay? We always getting hit with, oh, she's demonic. She's demonic. It's always that. Now, I want to get into some other stuff too. Y'all know I've been taking notes. Thank y'all so much for listening. Thank y'all for the likes, okay? So, I want to talk to y'all about where voodoo actually originated from. It didn't originate in Haiti. I just explained to y'all how Haiti, which was Saint Dominique in the Dominican Republic era, were islands that people got enslaved on from different ethnicities in one place and location that became Haiti now in 1804. So it has been Benin is considered the birthplace of voodoo, locally known as voodoo, with roots tracing back thousands of years, particularly within the former kingdom of Dahomey. So that's another thing. Benin is in Africa, West Africa, which is why voodoo says it has West African traditions, and Haitian traditions in them. So even the people that was getting sent to that island enslaved by the French, some of them came from these areas. And they taught other melanated people together, like, hey, like Cecil Phantom. They was like, where I come from, we do this. And y'all, we got to do this together. I'm going to need y'all help, though. So it took her like 4 years to do this because she had to teach them voodoo. Cecil Phantom, I posted her too. She had to teach them voodoo on that island that spread throughout the Americas. And we know how, through the Louisiana Purchase by the French, Napoleon himself, and that became U.S. territory alongside the American Indians that we got put together. So we got right here. It is the official religion for many, with the city of Quetta serving as the spiritual capital. The practice is an animistic, nature-based belief system, a religion that heavily influenced variant traditions in the America. Yes. So yes, that whole practice, due to the Haitian Revolutionary War, the French kidnapping willing people and unwilling people from the island of Haiti, abducting them as well, and bringing them to the Louisiana territory that just got purchased by the U.S. and enslaving us there with the French as refugees, still having us enslaved. So Haitians, remember, they was from that island. Some of them were indigenous to that island. Some of them got brought to the island from Jamaica and different parts of Africa, and Barbados as well, nearby, which is a very, it's pretty, it's not a big island, but that's what I'm saying. All of them, all those different ethnicities got brought to the U.S., while we as American Indians were already going through a period of enslavement, thanks to Christopher Columbus and 1492 setting sail and coming to us. So we was already dealing with slavery. Okay? We was already dealing with slavery. So we got right here. Origins. Developed in West Africa, present-day Benin and Togo, and was heavily popularized by the Dahomey Kingdom in the 17th and 20th centuries. In 1996, Benin declared voodoo a national religion with a major national holiday on January 10th, which just passed, okay? And I'm pretty sure Louisiana has a national voodoo day that they celebrate, and it's right before Mardi Gras, okay? So it's a national religion. That's another thing that people, especially melanated people, are scared of. Okay, it's crazy, and other people are scared of too. All right, so it has right here, and it's on January 10th. I celebrate that day. I know that's right, voodoo child. All right, so we got right here. Quetta is the center of the religion, famous for its temple of pythons. So they have a temple of pythons there, and I want to go. I'm going to Benin, and I'm going to see that temple of pythons. And it has rather the sacred forest and the annual voodoo festival. So they have this big voodoo festival, and somebody actually just did a video about it, okay, online. I'm gonna have to watch it, that they do every year. A voodoo festival, a big voodoo festival. That is where voodoo actually originated from. So that's why I tell people to be like, Haitians own it. Haitians do not own voodoo. Haitian was not even specifically one ethnicity until the Haitian Revolutionary War happened, and they gained independence because of the enslavement they suffered together on that island. And a lot of them didn't, like I said, a lot of them still didn't go back home. Some of them did, some of them different after slavery, but they were still, you got to think, they didn't, after 1804 is when they got their independence, and they had a long stretch of time, and then here come the French in 1825, debarring them for money because they lost so much. He lost his Louisiana territory, and they were still abducting slaves during this time. This was the slave Atlantic trade was still going on. It didn't stop, and we're about to read about that. That stuff was still going on even after they gained independence. They were still just doing illegal stuff. So it has right here. Voodoo means spirit of God. In the Fon and Ewe languages, it focuses on the worship of spirits, ancestors, and the forces of nature. Practices often include drumming, dancing, animal sacrifices, and the use of talisman and blood. So again, the transatlantic slave trade spread this religion from West Africa to the Americas, creating variations like Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo. Yes. So yes. So that's why you could not talk about Black History Month without including Haitian voodoo and Louisiana voodoo, and even West Africa, Benin, that we need to be giving thanks to them, because of the transatlantic slave trade, those spiritual practices got brought to America, combined with our indigenous practice, and it's very powerful being practicing voodoo. And more people, you heard what she said. It focuses on the worship of spirits and ancestors and forces of nature. So that is what Cecil Phantom did on the island of Haiti, Saint Dominic. She used the spirits of her ancestors in the forest. And Tituba did this stuff too. In the forest to call on her ancestors and work with nature to win and to the Haitian Revolution. But that's where that yellow fever came from, when they started dying from that yellow fever. She spreading disease. You can with that nature force. They couldn't handle that. Let's ring the bell. They couldn't handle that at all. They was dying from yellow fever. That's why they had to get the ick off the hip. And that is the main reason why they don't like us practicing that. So this is another thing. So this is what I want to get into too. The United States legally stopped the importation of enslaved people from aboard on January 1st, 1808. I didn't have that information at that last live I did. I just did. So 1808. So the Haitians got their independence in 1804. So you got to think, from before the Haitian Revolutionary War kicked off, which is in 1791, and before that, because they were still being enslaved, as we seen Tituba in the 1600s. Tituba is very well known to not necessarily, they say she could be from America, but she could have been African, or she could have been from Barbados. They don't have her actual ethnicity because they really weren't keeping up. But it's very well that she got shipped over there, possibly. Okay, so once again, from 1692 throughout all these years, for freedom happening to them stopping and making it illegal to bring slaves in anymore, because they was bringing them in through New York too. That was a very known area because it's all that water. Anywhere there was a large ports and water, they was able to ship them in. So New York was a slave area too. That's why Central Park used to be a community of melanated peoples, and they took over that. You see what I'm saying? So that the act prohibiting the importation of slaves was passed by Congress on March 2nd, 1807. And signed by President Thomas Jefferson, taking effect at the earliest date allowed by the Constitution. So it was that year that they decided to, like, okay, we can't do this anymore. But you know how long that was? But I'm not done. While the 1808 law made it illegal to import captives from Africa, the international trade continued illegally for years, and internal trafficking within the U.S. continued until 1865. So they kept illegally bringing slaves to the U.S. until 1865, when they really got a handle on it and it stopped. Do you realize how long that is and how many people they could have got here from Africa and Haiti and Barbados and the Dominican Republic, illegally just kidnapping people? Okay. Now, I do believe and know that we as American Indians, because this land was so large and full of us, we outnumbered even the amount of slaves that they brought over here. I do believe, when they talk about the transatlantic slave trade, they try to make it seem like there was nobody here indigenous to America before they started bringing slaves over here. And yes, it was. Christopher Columbus discovered that. Christopher Columbus went on his world exploring. So he went to different lands first to see if they were living life there first before he made his strikes. Remember, he got close to us. He was talking to all of us. He went to Hawaii. He thought he was in Asia. He went to Hawaii. He went to Dominican Republic, now Haiti, Saint Dominic, all the areas, Africa. And then he started mapping out. He had to get the map first. He was on this trip for a minute. And then he planned on how he could target us and enslave us and do all that stuff. And that stuff came next. And when he came back, it was straight slaughter and chaos. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. This is what was happening. And yeah, Christopher Columbus died from sickness when he was like 50 something. I'm actually glad about that. He ended up dying, but that was the curse. You thought you were going to do that to all them people and live long? He died. He died from, I think it may not have been yellow fever, but he got sick too, real bad, and he died. They say he died rich, but what's the point of dying rich when you had to die earlier than you should have because of evil things that you did to a people? So he spent the majority of his life, a great half of his life, enslaving people. And by the time he got rich from all the chaos that he caused, he died. He didn't even get to enjoy it. He died. Which serves him right. Serves him right. He died of sickness. What, you thought you were going to live after you did all that stuff? Okay. So it got penalties. The 1807 Act imposed heavy fines and allowed U.S. authorities to seize slave ships. So then the U.S. started, because they see, this is why they did it. They didn't stop the transatlantic slave trade because they cared about Africans or Caribbeans or black people overall. They stopped it because we was outnumbering them, and they couldn't, we was always outnumbering them, because guess what? Indians, Caribbeans, and Africans started breeding together. Willingly. We was having kids with each other, and they had too many slaves that they couldn't keep control over. Because remember, if you go watch that last live I just did, in 1811 in Louisiana specifically, they had a whole nother revolt. Same people. This time with the indigenous people and free people there. Because that's another thing. There were free people. So that's what I'm saying. The fight kept going. Nat Turner himself, he had a revolt here. Okay? So it got right here. The ban on international importation caused a surge in the eternal domestic slave trade, particularly to new lands in the South for cotton production. Although illegal, the transatlantic slave trade was not entirely eradicated until around 1863, with the final enforcement of slave ships abolition. So it took them forever to get them to stop doing that. Because we were outnumbering them, especially, see, that's what they dug their own grave. They thought they could actually keep us enslaved. And I'm gonna tell you, I will say this right now. And that's why to this day, melanated people, that's why they called us, they fetish. That's the main reason why they gave us fetishes and made all the music. We became entertainers. That was a form of enslavement too, y'all. I want you to know that. Stripping, dancing, playing music for them was a form of enslavement. They forced us to play for them because we were entertaining, right? You own us. They enslaved us, so now you're a slave. So now you gotta show me a good time. And sleeping with us, forcing us to sleep with them. Some of them did it willingly. But I tell people, you can't willingly sleep with somebody when you're a slave. I don't care. It's just like statutory rape. She can't willingly have sex with you as a child, and you know you're an adult and she's a child. So a 13-year-old cannot consent to sex with a 25-year-old. It goes for slaves. Slaves can't consent to sex with somebody as a slave. If you said no, you could get killed and accused of rape anyway. But if you said yes, you said yes, you could still get killed and accused of rape. Because if somebody found out as a white woman or man having sex with that slave man or woman, you gonna get killed if you don't make up something that makes sense. So you can't consensually have sex with people when you're a slave. So stop spreading that lie. Shit. All that, stop everybody talking about they did it on their own. No, they did. They was enslaved. They was trying to do anything to be free. If they could have we thought we was cursed. So some of them didn't even want to have black babies. They didn't want their kid. They want their child to have a chance to be free. But we see they didn't do that. They made them mulattoes and still enslaved them if you was mixed. They didn't consider you white, just because you had a mixed baby. They still treated the mixed kids bad. Okay? So let's go into the witchcraft laws they did pass in Louisiana after a long period of time of a battle. So I've posted this before, but I'm gonna just show it again. So if somebody want to look this up, this is what it's titled. You can screenshot that. If you type that in just like that, it'll pop up. It's on a blog that this girl wrote. It got why in 1864, and we just gave the dates about how long it took them to abolish slavery and really get a hand on it. Okay, that was in hold on. I want to go back to that date because we got to keep 1865 was the date that it still continued. Okay, 1865 was the date they continued to keep bringing slaves in through the transatlantic slave trade. Then this is in 1864. So in 1864, it got news papers compared black codes to anti-witchcraft laws. Now, anti-witchcraft laws it was called the hold on. It was called the Witchcraft Act of 1542, y'all. So it got Parliament passed the Witchcraft Act, which defined witchcraft as a crime punishable by death. It was repealed 5 years later, but restored by a new act in 1562. A few laws was passed in 1604 during the reign of James I, who took a keen interest in demonology and even published a book on it. So King James. The 1562 and 1604 acts transferred the trials of witches from the church to the ordinary courts. So guess what? Let's ring a bell. So Christians were the main people that launched the Salem witch trials and the burnings. And then they got transferred into the court system. But guess who were the same people that got it transferred to the court system? The same people, the preacher at church was the judge. No one man should have all that power. So the preacher used to be the church, the judge. They didn't have the same legal systems that we do now, with fair votings and stuff. So yeah, you're gonna take it away from the church's power to put it to the court system, which he's a part of the court system too. It's the same person, so it still wasn't fair. So it has right here examining a historical political analysis of unjust law. So it has right here. Society is held together not just by formal laws and policies, but by a patchwork of social norms. We're reminded of that every time we examine a period of vast social change when the lines regarding acceptable behavior are blurred. For instance, on July 21st, here go July again. July ain't month, ran. There's so much stuff that happened in July, it's crazy. But it got on July 21st of 1864, Dr. Louis Charles Rondonez, a Haitian descendant Creole man who printed this country's first black-owned newspaper, El Union, published the first edition of the New Orleans Tribune in French and in English. So remember, since we got enslaved in Louisiana, there was a lot of indigenous people that had to learn French, and there was the Creoles, free people, and English was being pushed too. English was being put. That's because of the Roman Catholic Church. Catholicism was being posed. That's in the Christian black codes. So all these different things, they were pushing their ethnicities on us. English, French, and they told us we can't be practicing hoodoo, voodoo, or indigenous practices. Christianity, French, and English was pushed on us to forget hoodoo, voodoo, and indigenous practices. That's the trade-off, okay? Remember I told y'all in that book I've been reading, the Rise and Fall of the Cherokee Nation. We had to become like them, and they was pushing that. So it has right here, a newspaper devoted to the principles that were defended by the Union. And the first essay entitled is The Black Code Still in Force. Because remember, slavery was supposed to be abolished and stuff by then. So we got right here, the author exposed the injustice of enforcing racist laws, given the cultural change fostered by the Civil War, drawing a direct comparison to the use of witchcraft laws in New England to persecute women. Let's consider the merits of their analysis. So yes, it was the same law that was passed when Tituba was around and the Salem witch trials happened. They was like, no, we're not doing that here. Read this right here. So look, Salem's first official witch was a South American Indian brought to Old Salem Village to be a slave in the home of Reverend Paris. She taught a strange blend of native and European and voodoo magic to the young girls of Salem in the nearby woods in the dead of the night and ignited the infamous witch trial. So yes, so she, just like Cecil Phantom in Haiti, in the island of Haiti, St. Dominic, used to go into the woods, teaching her other brothers and sisters native European folk magic and voodoo in the nearby woods. The woods is our spot, baby, because we have to use the forces of nature. The forces of nature listen to us because we are nature, natural. That's why our hair, actually, like my hair is locked. But when our hair is not locked, our froze grow out like a tree. My hair, I have a fro. When I had a fro, I got a fro. So my fro, it goes to the sun instead of falling down like this. Okay? And that's another thing. Locks is a spiritual thing. It was created in Rastafarianism as a spiritual connection to the universe. Antennas. Okay? Natural. All right? And there are trees. Have you seen, like, what was that? Just give an example. In Pocahontas, Grandmother Willow, that tree she was talking to, her leaves were hanging low to the ground and in the water. So there are trees that their limbs, they can actually live in a pond. And I think it was on what's the name of that movie? Princess and the Frog too. Trees that grow, their leaves hang low and into the water, and they can live in like a pond. So trees do all kind of things, okay? All of them are not the same. So this is the news article that he published. I'm gonna show you how it looks. She actually was able to find a picture and screenshot it. The New Orleans, and this is the man right here. He was a Creole man. This is him. And this is how it looks if y'all want to screenshot that so y'all can look it up. He published this. Like, y'all sound like y'all still treating us like we enslaved and treating us, because remember, they were free people there. So they was like, no, y'all still enforcing some of this stuff. What's up? They was like, what is this stuff, right? And they was calling them out, y'all. So that's what I mean by we've been pushing against all of this stuff for a very long time, okay? Very long time, all right? So let's see if I got any more. I think that may have been the wrap up of everything. That was the main stuff I wanted to share today about that. I'm trying to make sure I ain't missing nothing. I don't want to miss nothing. I think I got everything covered. Y'all. But yes, by the way, this is King James. This is King James. He's the one that actually told them to burn witches too. He's the one that was talking about the Englishman that pushed that law, the witchcraft law, to banish witchcraft amongst women and men. They got this colonized ruler is King James. He is the person that rewrote the Bible to the version of a lot of us use still today. He confessed out of his mouth he is responsible for the torture and capture and execution of Salem witch trials. He stated, and I quote, "I was terrified of witches and was responsible for the hunting and execution." He hated witches, aka women and men. But he hated, like, he didn't think that we deserved to live. He didn't. He didn't think we deserved to just be alive. He thought we were all demonic. He thought the entire practice was just a terrible invention because he was scared, really. You heard what he said. So what they say, that when they always fear what they don't understand. So in fear causes them to do the most horrible things. Because they're scared, they take it out on us. And now I'm going to read these. So these are stuff that I wrote based off research and information that I know to be accurate, okay? So these are things that I posted. It got the Salem witch trials took place due to a well-known enslaved woman by the name of Tituba. There are different stories about her ethnicity, which I said. Some say she was from Barbados, Africa, or American, but what we do know is she was a melanated, spiritually gifted woman. Just like now, back then, the patriarchy did not allow women or men to participate in herbalism, what we now know as witchcraft. If you were caught or exposed, whether you were a man or woman, black or white, you could be tried in the court of law and get time in jail or a death sentence. This happened between the time frame of 1630 to 1930. And during that time, Andrew Jackson sent Congress his proposal for the Indian Removal Act of 1830. Listen to that date, 1830. Once again, the transatlantic slave trade still happening right now. All this stuff happened. That's what they confuse us with. The transatlantic slave trade didn't stop till about 1865 completely. This is 1830. That's over 35 some years later. They sitting here passing other laws that keep us blinded to what else was going on. And more people were getting brought to Turtle Island with us. So we got the Salem witch trials took place in Salem, Massachusetts, a well-known U.S. territory at that time. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The French didn't own that area. U.S. territory had already done that, thanks to Christopher Columbus. And it got right here. Indigenous people who were considered to be shamans, healers, and medicine men and women before we were renamed as witch doctors, sorcerers, and conjurers by our invaders. When Christopher Columbus sailed on the open sea and traveled to distant lands, he was informed of the large number of indigenous people across the land that shared similar ways of life. So he started realizing no matter where he went, he's like, these are the same people that was in Africa. He was so shocked. He was like, these are the same people that was in Africa we just seen in Africa and the Caribbean. They here too in America. Dang, they deep. And there's more of them here. He used this information to get close to us, learn from us, and gain our trust just to later murder, remove, and destroy us. It's never too late to return to your roots. Pay homage to your ancestors today for the battles they fought, the blood that they shed, and the murders they endured. You'll need to stop playing around with y'all ancestors, okay? You can love Jesus all day long. Because that's another thing. How can you love Jesus, a man you never met that died on the cross for your sin, but you can't love your grandmamas and granddaddies and past ancestors that got murdered for you to be here today? Come on. Man, share the love. Come on. That don't even make sense. You give all of your suffering, the credit of all of your suffering and slaughter to one man that Christopher Columbus taught you about, an enslaver that did these horrible things to you and indoctrinated you with their Bible and took your people out over this thing. Baby, that's a brainwashing. I don't care what nobody say. We were forced to use Christianity and hoodoo, because that's all we had, and Catholicism and voodoo and Louisiana hoodoo due to this stuff. Just like in Rastafarianism was still Christianity from their time periods of slavery, Ethiopia, that they used to make it about them. It's so people, Jesus is not white like they did here in America. He's not whitewashed in their Rastafarianism. He's melanated. Everybody in that Bible is melanated that they use to empower them. I don't know a lot about Rastafarianism, but I actually just started recently. I tried to study it in the past, but it wasn't my calling. So I ended up putting it down. But here recently, my energy has been going toward Rastafarianism, and I've been saying I want to go to Jamaica, and I've been studying a few things. And I was like, when I started studying how they because Rastafarianism got created in the 1900s as well because of slavery. So it's like the Caribbean version of our American version of hoodoo and voodoo. People, we all got you. Christopher Columbus, remember, he put that cross everywhere. He was going around to distant lands, forcing Jesus Christ on everybody as a missionary, a world traveler. So everybody from different areas around the world that were melanated, that got exposed by him, found a way to use what he taught them to put into something beautiful for us, because it's what we had and all we had, y'all. This is what we did. We was enslaved during that time, and we created these things. So that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make us weak. That makes us strong and resourceful and resilient. It's what it makes us. Thank y'all for the likes. So here's the last thing I wrote. Somebody told me I need to be a writer and I need a blog. I might. I'm on Lemon8. Find me on Lemon8. It's actually something, it's called Lemon8. LEMON8. If y'all want to follow me on there, it's got us on the rise as well. Today I decided to share some valuable information on how our indigenous ancestors, also known as black men and women, were targeted during the Salem witch trials. The Salem witch trials kicked off in 1692, and Christopher Columbus invaded our lands in 1492. This gave our enslavers plenty of time to learn us, study us, followed by genocide, murder, land theft, identity theft, indoctrination, and enslavement. So yes, identity theft and land theft is the $5 Indians and the false people that started wearing our feathers and said, I'm the chief now. It was a disgrace. So they killed our chiefs, killed our shamans, and said, we're the chiefs now. You obey me. That's how they took out the American Indians. So everybody, even though we had similar ways of life, we had similar rulerships and legal systems and ways of life in them areas. And over here, we always had lead, and that's why we are like that to this day. Malcolm X, Fred Hampton, Huey P. Newton, Martin Luther King. We always have to have a leader because we're American Indians. It's just the way that we did it. We're tribal people. We're used to the systems of a chief and a chiefess. So they know that about us, and that's how they was able to take us down the way that they eventually did. So it had right here. The shamans and chiefs were targeted and murdered first to enforce the others to obey. So they knew what they started doing first was going around and they killed all the shaman and witches, sorcerers and conjurers and witch doctors, and the chiefs and chieftesses, because they were female chieftesses back then. Sometimes, let me tell you this, sometimes the chief was a woman and the shaman was a man, and sometimes the chief was a man and the shaman was a woman. Or sometimes there was a chief and a chiefess, and they may have had a grandfather or a grandmother that was the shaman, or even a daughter or a son. But most of the time it was of somebody that was elder. It was normally some elder, the shamans. Just like you seen on Pocahontas, they had he was like their grandfather, and he was a male shaman. So they took out our leaders first. And ain't that what they've been doing in America forever? They always take out our leaders first. And that's why, just bringing this up, if you follow Tariq Nasheed or know about him, he made a flag for FBAs. And I'm gonna be honest, him doing that, I knew that was a big deal. But now a lot of people identify as FBAs, Foundation of Black American, which means people that we know we are the people that built America. And it's true, because we were already going through slavery before Haitians even started getting brought here too. That's another thing. You got to think from when Christopher Columbus first got here. See, this is where the arguments start coming in. I'm definitely going to defend our people on this and my ancestors specifically. I got all love for everybody, but we're not going to pretend like that people was over here helping build this stuff at a time when they wasn't. They came later on, but they didn't build the country. So remember, Christopher Columbus came over here. Hold on, I'm gonna go back. Christopher Columbus came to the Americas in 1492, and that's when the genocide of the American Indians happened. They didn't start bringing people from the Caribbeans and Africa and stuff over here to like the 1700s and stuff. That's a long stretch of time for America to be built by indigenous American peoples. So yeah, later on the blood got mixed due to purchasing of our lands and us. Because I tell y'all, that book that I've been telling y'all about, I don't even have it in front of me. The Rise and Fall. I think it's right here. Hold on. This book, and I just got to chapter 18, The Rise and Fall of the Cherokee Nation, cover all that. It talks about the Seminoles, the Choctaws, the Creeks, all of that stuff. Because remember, that was one whole territory, U.S. territory. Florida, all that was considered actually Cherokee territory. Actually, y'all, the different names came later. Seminole, Creeks, and all that. That stuff came later. So it was all Cherokee territory, Georgia as well. Okay. So he talks about, so that's what I'm saying from that period. And I told you about how they was seeing what we didn't really go to war with them in the beginning, the American Indians. We was too busy because we're peacekeepers. We was trying to make peace with them. So we took on remember, y'all got to go back to Return to Your Roots. The first one I did in part 2, where I'm telling you about how we was literally like, we did everything y'all asked, and they was trying to sell us. You know, how you gonna sell us back our land that you stole? It was crazy. So yes, we was building this country back then, before the Haitian Revolutionary War even kicked off. So yes, in our defense, American Indians, aka Black Americans, built this country on our backs. Yes, that's just the truth of the matter, baby. We're not taking that away from us. That is the truth. Okay? That's the truth. This is the land of the American Indians, y'all. So yeah, they killed our leaders, our shamans, and our chiefs, because they knew that was a way to get us to obey. And it was a tough period of time. It was tough on us seeing, you got to think, it was our healers. They mean, remember, they were women too, so they just up and killed an elder that could have been like almost 200 years old. You see what I'm saying? Because remember, we used to live way longer back then. They didn't even know how old we were, but we were old. They didn't know how old we were because we didn't keep up with birthdays and stuff like that back then. We didn't have calendars. We went by the wheel, the life wheel. It's summer, it's spring, it's winter, it's fall. The sun rose this time of day. It's rising. It's noon. It's evening. It's night. We was on a solar time, and we was on a moon time. We used to follow the moon cosmology, y'all. Let's ring the bell. We were practicing cosmology. And when we was actually keeping up with life, we live longer. See, now they got us keeping up with these calendars and we die sooner. We're supposed to be living in nature. That's why every time they did something, it was in nature. And that's why every time they was impactful and powerful, it was in nature. And so they figured that out about us and they destroyed us being able to connect with nature. Y'all, this is something else. And that is the story of the American indigenous peoples here, as well as other brothers and sisters from different melanated backgrounds being brought to the America and forced to fight this battle together. All right? So stop the hate. We know it's Black History Month, but we got to stop deboing a time period in our life that is not something that is happy that happened to us, but at the same time we find pride in it because we still here and we're grateful for that, and trying to debo it and separate our struggles from other melanated people. So people don't like that I'm a pan-Africanist, but I am. Now let me tell you this. These Africans, like I told y'all in my last live, that don't like us, I'm not talking about them. I'm not worried about them. Just like there's white people that may like me and white people that don't like me, there's black people that may like me and black people don't like me. And there's people of other ethnicities that don't like me. But I know some dope Ethiopians, and I know some dope Haitians, and I know some dope people from Barbados. Isn't Rihanna and ASAP Rocky? ASAP Rocky is an American dating a woman and married to a Barbados woman. Ain't Nicki Minaj from Barbados or Trinidad or something? I think she's from Trinidad. So that's another thing. So you can celebrate these. You can celebrate these celebrities that don't give a F-U-C-K about you, and they're not even American Indians either. And y'all giving them all y'all money. What's up with us? We give most of these blacks that are from other countries and islands our money, and we don't even support our own people. What's up with that? They be balling, man. Drake too, he from Canada. They be out here balling off the black dollar. But now we want to start tripping about other stuff. We pick and choose. We're gonna have to do better. We're gonna have to do better, y'all. So look, that's the message for today. I hope you like this content. If you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe to me on YouTube at Sacred Energy Exchange 22. And if you'd like to get a reading by me, it is Sacred Energy Exchange 222 at gmail.com. If you would like to buy something from me from my shop, go to goddessontherise.life. I have plenty of things: incense, candles, sage, tarot cards, oracle cards. I'm restocking these keys soon, so you can get your hoodoo and voodoo keys to unlock them doors, baby. Unlock that abundance in your life or whatever you want. Protection as well. I have copper jewelry there. Like I said, I will be going out of town next week, so I'm going to a witch walk. Y'all know I got to keep working, all right? But I can use all the support I can get. You can donate if you don't want anything, because I do got soap and sea moss now. I told you I got red brick dust, I got unks, I got voodoo dolls. Thank you so much. Guidance and protection to you too. But if y'all would like to donate, I do take donations. I mean, I told you I got festivals coming up, and the vendor fees are going up because inflation is crazy. So they charging $300 2 days or 4 days or how many days? $400. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, please like and subscribe. But yeah, these vendor fees are a lot, but everybody need their money for bringing us all together. Okay. So I have to pay these vendor fees so I can continue to build my company. Okay. My company. All right. And what else I got? Also, I told you happy Aquarius season. I will be doing the Aquarius season live very soon, because Aquarius season is about to get wrapped up here soon. So I'm gonna get that message out there. because this is the air season. Thank you, most beautiful essence divine. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you so much, J Dove. But yes, Aquarius season. So if you don't know, the Capricorn is a Virgo sun, Aquarius moon, and rising. So naturally, I'm outspoken and I'm a speaker. It's an air energy, right? It's air, and I'm a Virgo and I'm a communicator. So if you have those placements, like if you Aquarius moon, like me, I tell people I should, everybody. I always knew I was supposed to be on a mic, on something. You know what I'm saying? I was supposed to be speaking. So people that have like Aquarius placements tend to be in public speaking and stuff like that. They could be teachers, they could be instructors, professors, but they have to use their voice a lot. So, which is why I'm on YouTube, right? And I got a lot to say. But yeah, thank y'all for listening in today. Please share this video with others that you feel like need to know this information and be very useful to them. All right. And like I said, I'm on Venmo, Goddess on the Rise. I'm on PayPal, Goddess on the Rise. .life@gmail.com. I'm on Cash App and Chime. It's Copper Queen. And in Queen, the E's are 33. So QU 33N, Copper Queen. Nothing is too big, nothing is too small. And it's all appreciated, okay? Okay? So I'm going to ring this bell, send this energy back to spirit, okay? Earth, air, fire, water, spirit. Until next time, happy Domingo Day, happy Sunday, happy Aquarius season, happy Melanin History Month. Peace, love, and balance. Copper Queen checking out.